Welcome to Wild Diamonds, where we hunt for the rare and remarkable. And that has certainly been on display today. If you are part of the Call of the Wild community, this has been early access day for the content creators who have shown us the first glimpses of the new Peru Intisuyu map. And it is just super exciting to see. I myself only watched about 10 minutes and then shut off. I didn't want to spoil anything else further, but either way, we're just in for a really good time next week. And so to help with that, I had an idea to extend my beginner's guide, where I already have a video one that's out, and you can check that out. That is the 7 essential DLCs to succeed. And then this is going to be the beginner's guide series number 2, which is going to help you navigate how to approach exploring a new map. And I think for, maybe some newer or lesser experienced players, it can be overwhelming. When a new map releases, you hear all the pre-buzz and hype on the threads, Reddit, Discord, Facebook, everything. Everyone's super excited, and you're hearing all these concept theories and whatnot. But you may be kind of asking yourself, look, there's a 25 square kilometer new place, and I am overwhelmed. Like, what do I start with? Should I do the missions? Should I go ahead and start Great One grinding because everyone has one and I better get one too? What's the proper method? And first of all, I'll say, of course, there's not one specific way to do anything. Of course, but I have found myself over the past 3 years that I've played the game, not the most, but just enough where I've been through every new map release, starting with Emerald Coast, Australia, and especially with this Askiy Ridge map here, where I've tended to find myself going through 3 general phases of map exploration and figuring out a new reserve. And so I'll go ahead and list those 3 phases to me. You can kind of think of these as like a rookie, veteran, and then master phase. And so the rookie phase is kind of like buying a new car, where you come to a map and everything is new and it's exciting and it's fresh. You open this map up here and you have no idea like what zones are at all these places, all the drink zones, all the lakes. There's no blue need zone or drink zone indicator next to them. You don't know what animals are at what place. You look at these creeks and streams and you're like, what's there? What's here? What's over here? And not even just as animals, but geography. I mean, you can look at this map itself, but it doesn't tell you that like there's a stunningly gorgeous mountain range right here. You could guess it, but you don't know till you go there, right? All these things when you first come to a map, it's just new, and you're running around like a little kid, and it's a blast. I would say that this phase, you're going to, of course, be dropped down somewhere and expected to go near the first outpost and then the first lookout tower. But typically after that, it is free for all. You could completely follow the missions. You might follow a few to kind of get some XP and some cash. But after that, you're going to get distracted by just one news pieces after another. And especially with this Peru map, which is just like what happened with Askiy Ridge and San Raton, there's so many species that, yeah, you're going to get distracted. You're going to be veered off course because all these species, you don't know who they are. You're going to see something and like, ooh, what's that? Let's go check it out. And so it is a really fun phase for sure. It might last for, like maybe a week or so, something like that. It kind of depends on how long you're playing, but it's a good time. But it's also just, it's not quite well structured, right? It's just you running around and you kind of end up maybe exploring the map in an unexpected kind of unplanned way. It's not very symmetrical. It's not very intentional. Things are just kind of all over the place. And what you'll find yourself maybe in this first mode is that, let's just say if this is the initial spawn point here, that you kind of come near and you'll check this out. Maybe you go to the next one up here because that's pretty logical. Okay, well and then we'll go to one more over here. Okay, and then after that, who knows? You might see a bird that takes you up here to the mountains. You might kind of see, a herd of deer that leads you over here and you're exploring this way. You might see a drink zone all of a sudden and you want to come up here and check out like a sheep or a goat, and then you're up this way, and then who knows? And next thing you know, you're just drunk with joy. You're having a blast, but you don't know what's going on. But the sense that the constant, kind of endorphins of new are just hitting you. And next thing you know, you're over here in the corner of the map and you're like, wait a minute, what do I do next? Where am I? And you still zoom out and look out and you find out that you've only explored like a tiny portion of these massive 25 square kilometer in-game maps. And so that's phase 1. You're not expected to Great One grind yet, or to like set up some herd management. That's not the point of this. The point is just to explore all the new things that the map has to offer and see what's out there, right? So that's phase one, kind of like the rookie phase, the new car phase, if you will. What does phase two look like? And so, in my opinion, with this one, this is pretty fun, where phase two comes out, and hey, let's go to the top of the corner of the map. Phase two, like so, this is kind of like you're becoming a veteran, and this is kind of also like the pruning phase, if you will. So, what happens here once you kind of come out of your drunken stupor of just early fun? You've maybe explored, let's say, a quarter of the map, a third of the map or so. You've certainly gotten some initial spawns by now, maybe a diamond or not, but like maybe some good golds, hopefully, a rare or two, something like that. You've gotten a decent idea of the map, and you've also likely completed some missions, but as all of us do, because the missions are not required, you veered off course for sure and kind of did your own thing. Typically, this is where you kind of grab the steering wheel, so to speak, and kind of steer yourself back, right? Let's see what's down here. Got some Manitoban elk. Might take a long shot, why not? I see that. Let's see. There's good racks down here, man. Sorry, I'm kind of distracted by. Oh, that looked really big to me. Okay, let's see really quick. What is 368? Oh my, wait, whoa! Is there a diamond in there? Wow, there's a lot. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna get a better sight. Wow, that's the best Manitoban elk zone I have ever seen here. Look at this view, by the way. But anyway, yeah, so what you're doing is you're kind of grabbing a hold of the steering wheel, and instead of just careening down the hill with no plan, you're starting to like make sense of things. You're probably going to pick up the story missions again, and hey, let's go ahead and progress through here because you know that the story missions will lead you to explore a good portion of the maps, right? I don't want to here really quick. Let me stop for a second. There was one in here that was really big, and it's gonna be hard for me to see it. It's it's kind of behind this. It is. It's a medium, and we are going to take a shot down there. It is right there. That's it. Ooh, that's pretty big. I don't know enough about them if it's gonna, troll or not, but I do definitely want to take a shot at it. Okay, I've got my zeroing on. We're gonna. This is a great angle. Let's go ahead and take it. I am good to go. Okay, let's let it drop in there. Oh, hold on. Actually, at my aim was off just a little bit. Oh man, it kind of sort of moved, I will say. Oh man, I don't know. It may get it, but it wasn't the best shot. Oh no. Oh man, seriously? Oh no. Okay, well I thought I had good footage of me shooting a diamond Manitoban elk. Diamond potential for sure. I think I just flubbed the shot, unfortunately. So I'll zoom ahead and we'll pick it up. I'll include this in the video because look, it's not all about just trophies and diamonds and rares. Like, trolls are part of the game and missed shots are part of the game too, So I have a hall of close calls or a hall of shame for a reason. And I definitely suspect I'm about to add something new to it. So anyway, let's go ahead and zoom ahead and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, well, I spotted it. So let's go ahead and just look at the damage. Hall of shame, here we come, right? Okay. Yeah, that looks like a pretty nice big elk rack, doesn't it? Thanks, thanks, dog. Oh my gosh, it's a 485. Oh no. Oh. Well, this is not good. It's a 485. It is 27.5 points above diamond. Oh my goodness. This actually ties the same score of my roughly of my Rocky Mountain elk, which is right around the 485, 46. So okay, let's go ahead and inspect this real quick and then move on with the guide. What happened? Yeah, that's what happened exactly. I was so close to shooting the lung and just my finger slightly moved. So it just moved it to the middle instead of the front. I knew it. I won't see one like that big probably ever again, but we're going to taxidermy it because it's still a sweet rack. And we will put it into the Hall of Shame. Okay, well, you got to recover. So we're here on the beginner's guide video, but all players, we all have different experiences, right? Well, let's move on from my attempt there at some advice. And let's talk about, like I mentioned, like that second phase, so to speak, that I was sort of referring to of the map. And so this is where you're starting to complete more of the missions because they do lead you towards more map completion and exploration. You probably get back on track with that. And then you do explore just more locations, right? So after your first kind of sporadic, unplanned, random places around, you're going to start looking at the map and like, okay, well, I haven't been to the top right corner. I haven't been to this middle bottom area. This looks interesting over here. Let's go there, right? So you're going to start doing that, and that's a lot of fun. So still, I would say too early to really worry about like a grind for a great one or a big species like that. But you're definitely getting more and more objectives kind of filled in your mind. You start to see what animals you enjoy to hunt too, as well. Like I will tell you that, of course, for this map, I was super pumped and excited to hunt for beaver here on Askiy Ridge. And look, they're a lot of fun. I found a really good way to shoot them on this map, actually, where I set up right there at that island, and then I shot across right here, and I would have a pickup tent, and then it was kind of funny. So I would shoot this lake, and they would kind of float, and they would stop like right here. Well, you would just shoot like so many in a row. I'd have like 8 or 10 floaters at a time, kind of huddling up. It's pretty crazy, but eventually I kind of realized that the beavers, they're hyped up, they're cool, but they weren't really like my favorite. So you'll find out which species that you do like to hunt, which ones you don't. And the second phase, you're kind of pruning and figuring things out. So it's a good phase. You're starting to mature on the map. Okay, so let's talk about, this is a beautiful spot. Let's talk about the third phase of the map. And so this is the mastery. And what I'll show you specifically is all of this. You see these tents? You see these tripods? Well, they continue up here. See these? All over here? Yeah. This is the third phase of the map. What do you think I'm hunting for here? The Great One mule deer, right? Right there. This is where I got my Great One mule deer, on this upper lake right here. This is what you're doing. So this spot right here, what you're figuring out at this point is like, okay, the third phase, you actually narrow your focus. And so you've seen most of the map. You've finished most of the missions that you wanted to, or you finished all of them, right? And kudos. You've gotten a good number of your initial spawn trophies, right? Maybe a couple diamonds and a couple rares and whatnot, and you're generally pleased with the map, maybe, or it's actually just proving to be difficult, potentially as well, and you want to get something, so that could be the case as well. But either way, you're now narrowing the scope of what you want to do. Like, okay, I'm on Askiy Ridge, and after shooting a random diamond bison and getting a rare Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep, and I've seen a dilute mule deer, really cool. Well, now I want to go for the great one. So this is where you're going to get your tents out and your tripods out. You've explored a lot of the map where you have need zones now on your map. All these places that used to be just regular, places of water and lakes and whatnot with just nothing to them. Now you've got zones. Now okay, black bears from 4 to 8, bison's 8 to 12. Okay, now you know that mule deer is 15 to 18. Okay, and so you can put together the picture of what your grinds will look like. You're grouping, you're clustering together these 3 lakes over here, those 2 over here. You're now making sure that you're 250 meters away when you place your tent because you don't want to spook any animals. You're starting to place your tents and your tripods in places to where you're now thinking about, okay, where can I get the optimal shots for repeated great shots and angles to shoot these places down, right? You're identifying which of the high class animals there are in zones. Like, let's say if instead of a non-legendary, let's say, hey, I've seen a lot of 8s, mythicals, or a lot of 7 very hards in these places. Okay, these are like my likely shooter spots. And so you're really drilling down and focusing on like one kind of goal or 2 goals, and then let's just go execute, right? So that's really like the time when it's awesome to go ahead and look for that great one, or to try to shoot a lot of species for a rare that you're looking for. So just to hope that helps with that general philosophy, is give yourself the ability to tackle these new maps in phases, because if you don't, it's a lot to take in. Okay, like this map here is Askiy Ridge with 19 species. I mean, my goodness, exploring all this map, this took a long time to do, like several weeks. I mean, a couple months, right? Like, and there's still some lakes I haven't quite been to yet either. So, just I would say don't pressure yourself that you have to get all to it all. To me, arguably the most fun and rewarding part of the game is exploring and experiencing a brand new map and getting that new car smell and that fresh coat of paint and going around the environment and seeing these just beautiful, stunning places and taking screenshots of these landmarks and just gorgeous nature and the funny little Easter eggs that EW kind of leaves at their outposts and lookout towers. And you're doing the lookout towers and you're seeing amazing places and all of that. Like enjoy the journey of that, you know, because once you discover a place one time, that's it, and it's never new again. I know that sounds, you know, kind of simple, but that's the case. So that would be my guide for you for this Peru map coming up. We've got Andean foothills and we've got dense jungle, and apparently there's going to be a great mixture of wide open spaces completely. If what I saw from today in the early access was a point, like for sure, more than I realized. But then also balanced with very dense jungle, which will be fun places to find your feline cats, right? That are going to come after you and all that. So, you know, I would say to let yourself explore and go find, you know, your initial few outposts and just kind of find your way. We don't know how the jaguar hunt is going to work exactly. You know, the mechanics of it, you know, how similar will they be to the Bengal tiger? Will they be a little bit different? We'll find that out. And so, you know, take a breath and just enjoy it and tackle it in phases and set your own goals and objectives. And I think you'll have a great time. So anyway, I hope that helps. For the next part of the video of this beginner's guide, we're going to actually go to South America, because how many times are we going to come to Parque Fernando after the Peru map, right? Not often. And so we're going to go down here and I'm going to give you a weapons loadout primer to go ahead and maybe set this up as a great option for starting to play on Peru. Okay, we're here at Parque Fernando, apparently on the Explorer Trail, according to the sign. Go through these wild trees here. And so I figured let's go ahead and come to South America here, because after the Peru map comes out, I don't suspect we'll be here in Parque, any of us, for a long time. But they still has these memorable, iconic, twisty trees that are quite cool. So while we're going through this Explorer Trail, let's go ahead and talk about some different options, I think, for some recommended weapon loadouts for the map of Peru. And so the main thing to keep in mind is that there's only one large species that is a class 7 or higher, and that is the black caiman. Of course, like the alligator or crocodile type that's there, the reptile. But other than that, everything else is class 6 or below. And so that is really simple and easy. If you have hunted the recent Scotland map, you've been able to hunt around with like smaller weapons. Well, similar here. And so let me give you a few options, and it kind of depends what you want to do. Okay, and so let's just look at this first. This is just the first option. We're going to do a few different ones, okay? So what I love to do when I'm exploring a map is come around with a tent. It is a luxury to come around with a tripod, okay? I don't think you need that until like that kind of second or really the third phase I told you about earlier, where you're really locking down to try to grind. So, but I'm just showing you this because most players will think, hey, I need to have a tent and a tripod. And if you do, okay, I'm going to show you what you can do, okay? So this loadout here is quite nice, where you have a Virant 22 LR Express. This is a class 1 weapon for, of course, you know, the cinnamon teal bird, but also for the greater Grison, which is a class 1 mustelid, and for the Western Mountain Coati, kind of like that small mammal with the really cool tall tail, and maybe a couple of class 1s as well. There's quite a few in this map. What I like here is that there is a magazine size of 10, which is really nice. And so that class 1s will fit, again, not just for the one bird on the map, but a couple of other fun species too. So you want to have this out. And this, given that you're going to have 10, and look, you can just pop these off really fast. And so you want that responsiveness that this weapon provides and that large magazine count to ultimately nail a fast-moving, small, hard-to-hit animal. So the 22LR is great. The second thing is the Frost 257, and this might be the MVP of this map. If you look at it, it covers class 2 through 6. Also, it has an effective range of 200 meters, and really all that seems to indicate, according to kind of what I've seen in the community, it's not a certain number, but basically this is a long-range effective rifle, okay? And also, the penetration, I know it doesn't tell you the number right here, but the penetration is a 36.0, like out of 100. And that is a very high penetration. So this right here is going to basically cover you for everything else. And so you're going to have your zeroing options of 75, 150, and 300. And so you can take a class 2 species, you can do a class 3 like a collared peccary, you can shoot a jaguar up to class 6, the pumas class 5, you can even shoot as low down as a class 2 for like the ocelot. So all 3 of your feline cats are covered from this one Frost 257, and that is really cool. I do want to go in here real quick and just compare this to my previous class 2 champion gun, really, which was the Varminter, and it's still an incredible weapon that you should always consider for your loadout here. This one right here, the Zogan Varminter 250, that has 5 rounds, it has 100 accuracy, and it's only 2 inventory size, which is great. The main thing I'll show you is that ammo type goes from class 2 to 4, and it has an effective range of 150. Now, like I said, the Frost 257 goes up to 200, so it's more effective long range out. And also the penetration for the 22-250 is at a 25, whereas the 257 goes up to 36. And so really, you kind of get the benefits of a 22-250, but you just add on classes 5 and class 6, which adds, the felines and everything else, even the spectacled bear. So I think that the Frost 257 is like the MVP of the map, and you're probably well worth to add this if you've accessed it in one of the recent, I forget the name of it, but the recent DLC pack that has it. So this, to me, definitely well worth a shot. People love this gun. Really quick, let me kind of shoot off like a few. It's also pump action, so you can get off some quick shots. Yeah, I don't think this one will be leaving my loadout at all. Now, here's a few question ones and a few alternatives that I'll give you, okay? I think that the Morality model H94 can be a very good weapon at times for this map, okay? So first of all, let's go look at the stats on this one. It does go from class 3 to 8. And now the effective range is only 50. And you can hit from further out. Just to show you, it's zeroing distances. It goes from 50 to 100 to 150. And it's nice to have these different zeroing distances versus your other long-range rifles. It's nice to have these kind of middle distances, just so that you always have like a... basically, you can zero with this weapon from 50, and then if the animal's more like 75 to 80, you can go to your Frost and and zero out at 75. And if they're 100 meters out, go to your Morality and hit the 100, and so on and so forth. It's nice to have different zeroing options in your belt. This one just packs more of a punch at short range. The penetration, I believe, is a 70 out of 100, and so this will tear up species. And what I like with that range from classes 3 to 8 is that at the 8, that is one higher than the Black Caiman. And so if you're on the river or if you're in the swamps and you're not that far away from the Caiman, maybe you're within 150 to 200 meters, this can be an effective gun. Now, I will say it's not the most accurate in my opinion, but it's an overall pretty good gun. It's just not going to get the job done for long range is the only problem. And we'll cover that once I do a little alteration here in a moment when we remove the tripod and add a few more weapons. But here, this is also a really good gun, I would say, for the Jaguar. For sure, if you're around, this will tear it up with its penetration and with that 3 to 8. It goes 2 classes higher than the Jaguar. The Spectacled Bear, same thing. So to me, this is a very potent, I think this duo here of like the Morality and then the Frost, actually, all 3 of these I think are well worthy companions. But let's look at an alternative, because I would say that this loadout would be quite good for that later phase where you need a tripod stand. But I'm going to argue that you probably don't upon starting the map. I think that you definitely want your tent for sure. If you don't have it, download the tent DLC. I mentioned that as one of the 7 essential downloadable contents to get. in my beginner's guide video #1. So check that out. Well, let's unequip that. Okay. What that gives me right here, if you look at the total capacity on top, I have like a 16.56 out of 23. And so it gives me an extra, roughly 6.4 capacity to work with. Okay. If I have that, and I have a lure already attached to, I'm just kind of guessing on this one, but here it's got a lynx and a bobcat. So I'm going to guess that probably the ocelot will go here too. And there's the collared peccary, which will be on the new map. And there's even like a lion. So that one might get some run, but there's a lure. You got your Odin sight. But let's just take a look. So if you take away the chair and the tripod, and you can just kind of take a tent, and if it's certain situations you need to put a tent down and pull out a chair, fine. But this gives us a lot more options on the weapons here. So I want to look at a few other things. The one thing I really want is just a better long-range option for specifically the Caiman, for sure. But also even something, for the Jaguar, take it down to. A few things you can do, okay? For the Caiman specifically, you're going to have to look at the Arzina 300 Mag Tactical. This is the favored class 7 to 9 gun, okay? And so if you look at the ammo itself for the 300, this is a class 4 to 8. Oh, sorry. I see. I selected it. Here we go. This is class 7 to 9, right? 42 penetration. It's amazing. So this, if you're just going to go Caiman hunting specifically, like you've kind of found some of your zones or usually always prepared, you're set. Now, the problem is that the Caiman is the only species that you can shoot ethically. And so if you have a Jaguar class 6 coming at you, and maybe you're not aware of what the angle is and you can't quite get a great view, and maybe when it comes out and you're ready to shoot, maybe it's a rare, maybe it's a diamond potential, and you're going to get off an unethical shot. So the 300 only helps with the Caiman. That's the problem, okay? So actually, I would say other than like a targeted hunt on like a Caiman coast, for example, that's more of like a phase 3 kind of mastery of the map where you're only going for that specific goal, I wouldn't recommend the 300 in this case. But there are some other options. And so we'll go ahead and look here at one that is the Malmer 7mm Magnum. And this can do a lot of really good on this map for sure. Let's pull up the 7mm. To me, what's so nice is that this is one of the versatile guns in the game. Right here is the ammo. So you can see it goes from classes 4 through 9. It has an effective range of 150 meters, which makes it a good long-range hunting choice. And the penetration is 40. It's really good. And so let's kind of take a look at this and what that looks like with these. So keeping everything as is, what you've got now, the Malmer just gives you more than enough stopping power from anything class 4 and up. And so I'm trying to think, what is class 4 in this map? But like this is going to cover the Puma. It's going to cover the Jaguar. It's going to even cover whitetail. So you can actually shoot whitetail long range with this if you want to. And then a lot of other species too. You can shoot the bear. So that's a really nice option to have. You can also shoot the Tapir with this. And I think with the Tapir, it's only class 6. The morality would do great. The Frost 257 for class 6, that's its max. You could shoot a Tapir ethically and be fine, but I'm going to guess that it may not have the most penetration. We'll see. We'll test it out. But the Malmer is going to. And so I think that really like this variety here looks great to me. And it has like all coverage. It's really nice. And again, just with the Malmer, if you happen to spot, let's say, a Jaguar or a bear or something from long range away, you're going to have more than enough stopping power. And even with the Caiman, same thing. And so we'll take this out really quick. I really like the Malmer on certain maps. The only issue with it really is just that it's magazine size. It only has 3 shots at a time. And so that's a bummer for sure. But other than that, though, if you just play like one good shot, it's really nice. So let's go ahead and equip this. And I'll just show you the gun real quick. So here's the Malmer. And again, you can see class 4 through 9, good penetration, long range. So here it is. And so you've got zeroing distances, of 75, 150, 300. That's for a long range rifle. And so if you see like a Caiman out in the river, let's say, for example, or anything else really, like from 4 to 9, you're covered on so many. And you can just do 1, 2, 3. Now, only 3, but it's enough to get a follow-up shot or 2. on a species, and you're set. So that is pretty nice. I would recommend going for the Malmer, but let me show you one more like efficient alternative that's not quite as long range, but it's still better than nothing. So let's say we take actually let's do this. I think that it is very helpful. I've really enjoyed this tactic here of pairing this 243 Arco Elmo with the 4570 Jernberg Superior. These are both just a one size capacity handgun, right? The 243, of course, you can actually equip it with unlimited free ammo because the 243 powers that Ranger gun that we all get in the beginning. And this covers class 2 through 6, which is really nice. And on this 243, you can equip it with any scope, including the Odin. Same for the 4570, but this actually covers class 4 through 9. And so I've actually found that for a combined inventory size of 1 plus 1, so for 2, these are really helpful to have because, again, they're going to give you also a varied amount. Let's take this away, okay? Let's see. Actually, let's take the Rowdy away, and we'll keep the Malmer. How about that? But right now, so if you look at my inventory, I'm at a 19 out of 23. I still have room to add quite a few things, which is nice. I'm still keeping the frost, but I'll show you what it looks like when we equip the ammo. Let me take away the 44, and we'll just add this really quick. So we're going to do the 243, and then, yeah, I went past it. Okay, and I'll just kind of show you what you're getting into. But this is for a loadout that has more weapons. Now, while I'm loading these up, I will go ahead and state the obvious. I don't yet have access, of course, to like the new crossbow, right? Like the reverse draw crossbow. I definitely want to try that out. And so, but I haven't looked at the early access, so I don't know what the inventory size is. If you happen to know it and want to comment below, that'd be great. I do look forward to trying that and always to try any map exclusive, new weapon for sure. So that will factor into these as well. But I'm trying to show you where you can have a lot of, you only need 3 or 4 weapons on this map pretty much. And so you should always have extra space. But anyway, so here's like the long range rifle again with the 7mm. Here, let's go ahead and travel somewhere a little more fun for some sighting. And then we will take a look with all these weapons. Okay, I want to come out to a more scenic area of Parque Fernando to show off, hey, this oldie still has some goodies. This is a pretty map. And this is actually one of the more open and populous drink zones in the entire map. So down here in Tierra Pico, I just want to show you this. Look, Axis, Peccary, Mule Deer, Puma, in some order, like all the way around. So this lake is actually really good. And if you haven't been here yet, check it out. While we're coming up here, let me kind of show you the added utility of these handguns, okay? So the Malmer is like my long range out to 300 plus meters, okay? But here's the Jernberg. And what this does for zeroing, it gives you a 50, 100, and 200. And that is really helpful because, so if you switch over to any long range rifle, they're going to have a 75, 150, and 300. So between 150 and 300, I very often come to a 200 meter shot, and I'm always torn between, well, which zeroing do I do? I'm kind of in between. Take out your 4570, switch to your 200 zeroing, and you've got a 200 zeroed in. So you're going to get off a really good shot. Now, it's a single shot, but you're zeroed in and you're fine. Or if you have a 100 meter, you're set too, right? And even a close up one, if something's charging you, the 4 through 9 for this, it can be either the Puma or the Jaguar. You can shoot it with this and take it out at 50 meters. So that's really helpful and powerful. I love carrying this gun. And so given that it's 4 through 9 and it has great penetration, it only takes up one size in your inventory. To me, it's a no-brainer. And then you can pair it with this 243. You don't have to, but what I like here to do, and again, it's for only one inventory size, it gives you a class 2 to 6 with free ammo. And I will say on this map, you may just go with a 243 because it kind of covers 2 through 6, which is most species. The only thing is that a 2 through 6, it doesn't have quite the takedown power of the Jernberg's 4 through 9. So for me, if you want just a bit more stopping power, I would go with the Jernberg and go with it and let your Frost just take care of all of your class 2 and class 3 needs. Like, you're totally fine there. But again, if you take the 243, same thing with the handgun. You've got 50 meters zeroing, 100, and 200. And so I really like carrying both those weapons and having that useful zeroing option available that's kind of in between what I can get with just my long range rifles. So I'm actually shockingly here in a dead zone for this lake. I can't believe it. What are the odds, huh? I thought I was going to show you guys something cool, but this is an amazing lake if you haven't been here. And look at this. Parque Fernando gets a lot of hate, but this is a lovely spot. If you come here at night, you can hunt for puma. So pretty cool. But anyway, so I would recommend, for sure, definitely equip the Vibrant 22 LR for your class 1, which is, again, not just for birds. Definitely try to find a way to do the Frost 257 if you have the DLC, but I'm not telling you to spend money. If you don't, equip the Varminter to the 22-250. It is a class 2 to 4 rifle. It only has an inventory size of 2, and it's a great long range, like 100% accuracy weapon from 300 plus meters out. So I would definitely, in exchange for the Frost 257, go with the Varminter. And then I think that the Malmer has a lot of utility here, where you can just take down from long range all the biggest weapon species on this map. And then kind of filling in the gaps with like one or both of these handguns. To me, either one's kind of your choice. If you're more of a beginner player, do the 243 and just use its abuse that free ammo, right? Save money, put that money towards buying tents or buying tripods, and just abuse the 243. On this map, it will do just fine. But if you want a little more stopping power, go for the Jernberg. And so and the last thing I said, I would just, if it was me exploring the map, just carry on your tent, and I would not worry about taking up 6 spots of inventory to fill up a tripod yet. Go around, explore, get your outposts, right? Get your do all the lookout towers and have fun with that. And once you get to a point where, okay, I've got this map pretty well covered, then maybe you can afford to kind of reduce your scope or the number of weapons that you have, and then you'll still have plenty of room to do a tripod and a tent. Because again, on this map, you might only need the Frost 257, maybe, and like one other class 1 weapon, and then you're set. So I really enjoy the fact that this map won't require us to use too many weapons to cover everything, versus going to like Askiy Ridge, or something, or Son of Baton. So I hope that helps kind of give you just some ideas for what to do. And so this coming week should be a lot of fun for the community for sure. I am super excited, as I'm sure all of you are, that we are going to a new part of South America. We are going to Peru. And so I look forward to exploring the many Andean adventures that I will have with all of you all too. And so let's look forward to it. Anyway, that's all I've got for this beginner's guide number 2. Otherwise, I'm going to sign off here. Thanks for tuning in. And this is Wild Diamonds. And until next time, happy hunting.